Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Now normally I don't do requests when it comes to videos, I have a plan of what I want to do. But one of my lovely followers from Twitch called Claire had a very special request for me. She said, as a fun little video, is there any chance that you could run from the furthest eastern side of Outland to the furthest western side of Outland, which is in Nagrand, and time on your mount to see how long it takes, and then do the same on Draenor, on the beta servers, going from the Temple of Caribor over to Heimdall, which is pretty much the furthest western place that you can go to in Nagrand there. And again, time it, and let's compare the times. Let's see which one is going to be quicker than the other, and whether or not there is a distinct difference between the two. Now, Claire has been a phenomenal supporter of my channel. Not only has she donated with ridiculous generosity, but she also moderates for me, and she's conspicuous by her absence as opposed to her presence. And I'm really fortunate enough to have multiple people like this when I stream. So if they ask something of me like this, I'm going to say yes. So I start off in Outland, outside the front of Black Temple, and I'm going to do this a couple of ways. Firstly, I'm going to take all the pathways that are available to me. So these are the pathways that the game provides. I'm going to follow them, and I'm going to go from the front of Black Temple through to the furthest western tip, which will kind of marry with what's there on the Draenor servers, which is Forge, Camp, Hate. So it's not an exact science this is just a bit of fun. It's going to be quite intriguing though to see if there is a small difference in time between the two, or there is a pretty substantial difference in time between the two. Now, after I've done this on both Outland and Draenor, I'm then going to literally run as quickly as I possibly can on my mount from the west back to the east. So I'm going to be ignoring pathways, I'm literally going to be jumping off cliffs, running over lakes on my dread steed with the nightmare glyph attached, and all this kind of stuff. But both of the characters that I use are identical. They're warlocks, they're on exactly the same mount, and they're non-gilded. So they're going to be going at the exact same speed too. So as I come to the end of Shadow Moon Valley, moving into Taroka Forest, we're going to get our first split in the time. And it comes out at 4 minutes and 40 odd seconds. Okay, so that's not a bad time. So still following the pathways in Taroka Forest, I've got an interesting path to choose here, because I literally have to now move all the way up to Shattrath, and then from Shattrath head directly south, then over the Bone Wastes, and then I have to reconnect with the pathway, and then woof, move my way into Nagrand. So it's a quite, I wouldn't say effective route of travel there. We do have to literally go from one side to the top western corner, and then straight back down, and then across to the west side to go through. And if we do a time split here, the total time is 9 minutes 43, I had that at, which means a split of 5 minutes and 3 seconds to go across Taroka Forest. Now, to map out Nagrand, I wanted to do semi-similar routes on both sides. I couldn't really have one going in one direction and one going in the other. So I'm going to go across the eastern side of the amphitheatre, the amphitheatre there with the ogres and stuff. I'm then going to go through Garadar on the Outland, and then you can see the Throne of the Elements, which is just further north of it. And then I'm going to literally just come back down on myself until I get to the Crossroads Junction here. And then from there, just dart in a sort of westerly direction towards Forge, Camp, Hate. And in doing so, we're going to arrive at 15 minutes, 15 seconds. So that makes a split for Nagrand of 5 minutes and 32. So all in all, that took, 5 minutes and 15. So that's a decent amount of time it's taken to cross. So let's flip now to the beta servers for Warlords of Draenor. So once more, Warlock, same mount exactly, same movement speed. And I'm leaving the front of the Temple of Carabor and heading west out of Shadowmoon Valley. Now, it's quite clear to see from the get-go that the Temple of Carabor is substantially bigger than the front of Black Temple. And also, we could only really start at the front of Black Temple because that's pretty much the furthest eastern tip that you can go. That's not actually the case here in this version, the Draenor version of Shadowmoon Valley. I could go completely round the back of the Temple of Carabor, and we have the whole harbour and all that sort of area there. So there is further I could have really travelled from. But like I said, I'm trying to make this video as like for like as possible as regards to pathways and routes and that kind of business. So it's just going to be, again, a fun element to see how quickly this takes if we go from the front door of the Temple of Carabor and move onwards towards the front of Highmoor. So what I've decided to do this time, though, is I have to take the pathway to the opposite direction. Whereas I headed south and then west in the first split, this time I have to go north and then west because there really isn't a pathway in the south which links round. This one is pretty much as like for like as you're going to get, even though it's what I'd class as a mirror reflection, so to speak. So coming to our first split leaving Shadowmoon Valley 2.0, it clocks in at a staggering 5 minutes and 25 seconds. Now bear in mind the first one was 4 minutes and 40 in the Outland version. So that is a good 45 seconds longer to get through this version of Shadowmoon Valley, where you do even have more area to travel in from behind than the Outland version of it. Well, again, you know, this is not an exact science. Yeah, as you know, we haven't got Guinness Book of Records or anyone standing by to make sure or anything like that. But it's just quite interesting because it clearly looks and feels as if Shadowmoon Valley 2.0 is bigger than the Outland version of Shadowmoon Valley. And instead of being Taroka Forest, we now have the zone of Talador. And Talador is a lot more efficient than Taroka Forest, because I had to go all the way north in Taroka Forest, or west, sorry, northwest, to hit to Shatrath, and then go directly south, and then go west through to Nagrand. Here, we get a westerly turning very early on, so the effective path route through Talador is a lot better than it is through Taroka Forest. Now, coming out of it, though, we still clock up a time of 10 minutes and 22 seconds, which brings a split of 4 minutes and 57. Now, that's actually 6 seconds quicker than Taroka Forest, and yet was a way, way, way more effective pathway to get through. So again, although it was quicker, I think it definitely gives the impression that Talador itself is substantially bigger. I didn't even have to go anywhere near Shatrath. I simply had to cut across the north side of Ockendale. So again, I will attempt in Nagrand to do as similar a pathway as humanly possible. So I go across the east of the amphitheatre, and then I cut across the north pathway that's the closest that I can get to Throne of the Elements. I then take an effective route pathway through the middle almost of Nagrand for this, and then I do like I did with Forge Camp Hate. I follow the pathway until it literally would stop me, and then I cut across the field here, the short field, and then join the road, which is now going to take me to the front door of Highmoor. And as we arrive, it ticks a grand total of 16 minutes and a second. I'm going to put that at, giving us a split time of 5 minutes and 39. That's 7 seconds longer than the Outland version. But all in all, we've got, what, 46 seconds in total. 46 seconds in total longer to go from the Draenor version of Temple of Carabor to Highmoor than from Black Temple to Forge Camp Hate. Now, you may say to yourself, 46 seconds, not an uber amount of time, but you just stop now, or at the end of the video, stop, turn everything off so you've got no distractions, stand in the middle of your room, and count 46 seconds. Trust me, it's substantially longer than you think. And also, Talador was a much more effective route. So if I decided to go all the way and follow the pathway up to Shatrath and then come back down on myself into Nagrand, I think it would have taken substantially longer. Probably another good minute or more on top of my journey there. So yeah, quite interesting, not an exact science. So what I'm doing now is, as you can see, I am just trying to bez across literally the other way around now, from Nagrand back to Shadowmoon Valley, ignoring pathways unless I want to take them, jumping over cliffs, jumping over water, all that kind of stuff, to try and see how long it takes me to get from one side to the other in as quick a time as I possibly can. And here we come, we're coming back to the front of Black Temple, and it's taken me a grand total of 12 minutes and 19 seconds. Alright, not too bad. So let's again flip back over to Draenor, which is the beta servers, and then I will do a speed run here. I have to admit something here. Again, I know I said it's a bit of fun, this, and not an exact science and all that kind of stuff, but do remember, I probably know Outland like the back of my hand, whereas I don't know Draenor all that well, certainly in comparison to it. So I probably felt a lot more comfortable doing the speed run in Outland than I did in the Draenor version. And also remember, when I did the Outland version, the mobs aren't aggroing me. They're like 20 odd levels below me or more. Whereas here, the mobs are aggressive. They can knock you off your mounts and things like that. So I've done everything in my possible power to avoid all that kind of jazz. And I do arrive back at the frontal temple of Caribou, though, in 14 minutes, 24 seconds. Ouch! So that is over 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 5 seconds odd. Longer to do that speed run back. And I really didn't have too many places where I was struggling, you know? But the problem is, this is all good fun, folks. This is all good fun doing these speed runs, but you can see what I'm doing now, and it's flying. Yeah, flying is the ultimate inconvenience when it comes to the World of Warcraft. It can get us from A to B in as quick as time as we're ever going to get, in the quickest route that we're ever going to get, especially with the daft flight paths which we currently have, which just seem to take us on guided tours of the whole place. If I want to go from my shrine in Pandaria to the Timeless Isle, I don't want to go all around the houses to other places. And that's why flying is always going to be so popular with people, because we don't have to deal with all the crap. But the problem is, with flying comes its own set of issues. With PvP, we have major ganking issues. When you're questing, you can simply swoop in, kill the mob that you need to kill, or collect the item that you need to collect, and then fly back out again. All the other guys who are there protecting whatever you need to steal or kill are redundant. And this really takes away from a fun element for me of MMORPGs. After all, the whole nature of playing these games surely is to at least immerse ourselves in what the developers are trying to give us. But when we're swooping in and out, and when we're just doing ganks and all that kind of jazz, some people may get satisfaction from them, but me personally, it all feels a wee bit hollow. There are plenty of places in the World of Warcraft we can fly. There's all of Azeroth itself. There is all of Outland. There is all of Pandaria. Please, just for once, there is no necessity to make it happen in Draenor. Draenor is without doubt the most beautiful world, the most beautiful piece of artwork I have ever seen from the art team within the World of Warcraft. They have just done an exceptional job, and to be down there at ground level and appreciate it is nothing short of sublime. But when you take high to the air, just exactly what am I taking in now? The simple fact is, not a lot. In actual fact, next to nothing. All that hard work, all that effort is now for naught. You can't just say, yeah, but when we're leveling up, we have to be at ground level so we get to see everything then. Leveling only takes up, 1 to 2 weeks of our World of Warcraft life within an expansion that lasts for approximately 2 odd years. We need to still appreciate stuff, not just in instances, but outside in the big bad world. And please, Blizzard, one great way for us to do that is to clip our wings. Don't bring flying back in patch 6.1. Hold off. Stick to your guns. The place is beautiful. If you can put the content down below, and if you can sort the stupidity of the flight path connections, it can be amazing. But if you don't, then people are going to be crying out for flying because they want to do things as effectively as they possibly can. And it takes me a little over 5 minutes and 14 seconds to fly from the front of the Black Temple through to Forge Camp Haste. That's a third of what it took when we went down on our flying mounts, but that is a lot more lost of the game, trust me on this. But let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook and twitch.tv/HeelvsBabyface for live Warlords of Draenor streaming, and I shall be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye bye.